Okay, joining us now in the Kansas Speedway Media Center is Carl Edwards. He drives the number 99 Aflac Ford for Roush Fenway Racing. 5 top 5s, 9 top 10s here at Kansas. And Carl, I know you'd like to
no victories.
No victories.
That's the problem.
I know you like to put that on your resume because you got to believe this is like your home racetrack. So talk about racing here at Kansas Speedway and what you're looking forward to racing under the lights for the first time tomorrow night.
Well, I think racing under the lights is going to be great. I think that's a great move by Kansas Speedway. It's such an important race for me. I mean, you guys have all, you know the story. I mean, it's the same for Clint, myself. I mean, I feel like in a way for one of us to win here would be really special because it's so close to home. There's so many people here that we race with. For me, there are a lot of people in the grandstands in the garage that if it weren't for them, I definitely wouldn't have this opportunity. So a win here would be like a win for all of those folks and kind of validate and maybe in a way pay them back for how much they've done for me. So this place is really special for that reason. The racing here, after that first practice, I think it's going to be really tough. They're so fast here. I don't know what it looks like, but from inside the car, we've got the cars so fast to the center of the corner, the speeds are extremely high. So it's going to be an interesting race. I think if the line moves around, you're going to have to be very aggressive. I think there's going to be a lot of there will be a lot of opportunity for mistakes because the speeds are so high that people get arrow loose or something like that. It could be a really big problem. So I think overall just high speeds. Nobody really knows what the nighttime is going to do, and hopefully it's a good race.
Big questions now for Carl. We'll start with Lee, and then go to Chris, and then go to Stan, and then Blair. Lee, raise your hand. We'll get you the mic. Right there, please, Lee, in the back.
You guys are cuddled up back there pretty close.
Well, that's because you're busy.
Because I'm what? What'd you say?
I said that's because you're busy.
Oh, thank you.
You're
That's
welcome.
really nice.
Did you do the...
We'll talk more later.
We will.
Right.
Did you do the tire test here?
No, I didn't do the tire test.
Can you just give us an early review of how you think the new right side tires are holding up? Some guys are surprised at the grip. Others say that there's not enough, but drivers always want more grip.
I'll say this. That's the fastest I've ever gone through the corner here. I mean, it's extremely fast. I mean, I spent the week up in Dover. I spent 2 days up there doing a tire test and talked quite a bit with the Goodyear folks about the challenge that is posed to them with these high speeds. So we've got these stock cars that are rolling around on a relatively small tire in racing, relative to a lot of the other cars that go that fast. And so they're put in a box with all that force in the middle of the corner to make a tire that drives well and lasts and doesn't create a ton of heat. It's really tough. So we were screaming at Dover. I mean, super fast. Then we came here, and it feels like we're even faster. So I have no complaints about the tire. I think that the amount of downforce we have and the speeds through the center of the corners, I don't know how the Goodyear makes a tire that even holds up. So whatever they're doing is working.
Go to Chris, and then we'll go to Stan, and then Blair.
Chris Knight, catchruns.com. Can you talk about the strength of Roush Fenway this weekend? Looks like that all the cars are running strong. And is there something that you guys went to the table following the last mile-and-a-half racetrack and just talk about the speed of the cars this weekend?
Well, we've been working a lot. Everybody's been working a lot and working very hard. And I think we've been working smarter. So I think hopefully you see some of that this weekend. I mean, we unloaded, and we were – I don't want to say specifically what we've done, but we've worked on some things, and the cars are a little better. So, it's still practice. We'll see in qualifying. I think Ricky, myself, and Greg were all pretty fast in qualifying trim. But I will say this: we're still kind of figuring out the new stuff we're doing. So there's hope. I think that's good. We've got to do better at these mile and a halves, and this track will be a real test of our mile and a half program, and it'll let us know if the things we've been doing lately are working or not. I don't know. I didn't look at any of the tire wear yet. I know people had wear issues in the test, but I don't know how this tire is actually holding up right now. I think the only thing that makes me a little nervous is if we do get a pop-up thunderstorm or something like that and it washes the track clean. I think the speeds are so high that might pose a problem. But if the other cars out there or the trucks lay down a little bit of rubber, the groove gets widened out, I think it'll be good. But that really that's a statement that I'm not really qualified to make because I haven't looked at much tire wear yet.
Go with Stan, and then we'll go to Blair, and then Nate.
Stan Creekmore with RPMtonight.com. Carl, what do you say to one of your race fans that walks up to you and says, man, you did 200 miles an hour last week at Talladega. You all were so tight, you were almost touching each other. Why can't you do that at Kansas? What are the issues that prevent you from racing in that same manner?
Well, if they leave everything the way it is and take 100 horsepower away, we're going to be right there. Because we're almost wide open through the corner. I think that's one thing we don't do enough in this sport, I think as a whole group, is describe what exactly is going on in the race car. And what makes Talladega and Daytona, what makes those races look the way they do, is the fact that the car doesn't go fast enough. We've limited the speed with horsepower with the restrictor plate so that you don't have to lift off of the throttle through the corners, which makes for an interesting spectacle, but it takes the driver, a huge amount of the driver talent out of the equation. So when we come to a track like this, or basically any track this size or smaller, the car can't physically go around the corner wide open. You have to lift off of the throttle, and then you're sliding the car, and you're balancing it, and you're talking to your crew chief, and you're trying to describe what the car's doing so that you can make it faster. And so that's why you see some spread in the field. I think that's what makes NASCAR racing. The thing that's made these mile-and-a-half races look boring sometimes is because you rely so much on aero, on clean air over the car. And if you look at the size of the spoiler and that front splitter and all that stuff, those are huge aerodynamic devices that basically put 2,500 or 2,800 pounds of downforce and side force in the car. Once you rely on that, you go out there and you put a car that big at 210 miles an hour down to the corner, it makes a big hole in the air, and the guy behind you just doesn't have enough air on his car. So that's where it gets really tough to describe to people what's going on. But basically, if I'm following 4 cars on Saturday night and they're all in a line, they're all going 200 miles per hour, the air on the front of my car is so turbulent and that I can't go fast enough to catch them. So NASCAR hears it from me all the time. I just push for taking the downforce devices away. And, we might not have Talladega every week, but we'll sure have some close racing when guys are comparable with speed and talent.
Go to Blair, and then we'll go to Nate, and then Dan.
Blair Kirchhoff with the Kansas City Star. Yeah. Carl, were you aware of that BusinessWeek.com story last week that talked about your needle-moving ability for NASCAR? And if so, what did you make of it?
Yeah, I saw that. It surprised me. But that's it surprised me. But that's pretty interesting. I thought it was interesting. I know I'm happy when I do well. It's good to know that other people might be too. It's good.
Let's go to Nate, and then Dan.
Nate Ryan, USA Today Sports. Carl, following up on the cars maybe being better at Roush Fenway, Greg Biffle was on Claire's show this week and was talking about how the Vegas race was just demoralizing in terms of the mile-and-a-half perspective. And obviously there's a lot going on right now at the team, at the company, his future, your future, and he talked about how important Kansas was for the team. Can you address that a little bit? Is the mood at the team, and if you guys get a good performance here, what that means for Roush Fenway?
Well, I think it means a lot. The deal is we have to be better. Everyone knows it from top to bottom. And I'd like to speak of it outside of the context of contract negotiations and things like that, because at the end of the day, I am a Ford driver. I drive for Jack Roush, and that's my job. And so as a group, we all have been working, and I think at the end of the day, the mood right now is very hopeful. So it's not. We were pretty deep in the desperation portion of mood after California, and it was bad. There's a lot of hope right now just because we've tested a bunch, we've worked on a bunch of things. I'm seeing guys like Robbie Reiser and Chip Bola and Bob Osborne are working really hard, and it's actually this weekend so far it's been pretty good. So we just need to keep doing that. We need to keep seeing these positive things, and I think that if we continue on that path, I think we will have a shot at the championship. So that's all we can do.
Man in the back's got the mic, so he's got the floor, and then we'll come back up here to Dan.
Hey, Carl. Sean McDowell, Fox 4 Kansas City. You mentioned that you hadn't won here, but many times you've had a good enough Cup car to win here. Just had bad luck or something's gone wrong along the way during the race.
Well, thanks for giving me that. I
Well, of
appreciate
course.
it. It wasn't
yeah.
my mistake.
That's
It
why
was
I'm here.
bad luck.
Do you feel like, is there part of you that feels like maybe the thing owes you one? I mean, does the track owe you a win?
No, not at all. In fact, it's the opposite. When I come here, I feel just the opposite. I don't feel like this place owes me anything. I feel very grateful to be racing here, and I feel that that any success here is a gift. I literally used to drive up and down I-70 out here, and I almost couldn't look at the lights or the grandstand, because it would have meant so much to me to be able to be a part of this, and it just seemed, even though it was just right across the field there on the side of the highway, I never thought I'd be on this racetrack. So yeah, the truck race here, that win was huge. The race in, I think it was 2008, when basically I was one adjustment away from being able to beat Jimmy and win that race. Those races are those were really exciting, and in a way, I think it's going to make the win here when we get it. I think it's going to make it really special. I can't imagine how cool it would be to win here and drive back home. That'd be cool.
Go to Dan, and then we'll go to John.
Dan Galston, the Associated Press. How you doing? Carl, you mentioned you're an RFR driver for now, but has there been progress on your contract negotiations?
Yeah,
closer?
You guys know I don't like to talk about that stuff in the media. It's to me that's business, and I've made the mistake of letting that turn into a big media thing before. So I'd rather not talk about that. We'll just keep that between me and Jack and Steve Newmark.
When you look at other teams, though, are some more enticing than others, like a JGR?
Well, that would be part of me not talking about it. Would be not answering that question. But
nice job, Carl.
Yeah. All right.
Go ahead, John.
You got one more? You want to get one more stab?
John Householder, NASCAR Productions. Carl, this is just a little bit of a preview question. The Coca-Cola 600 is obviously the longest race of the year. As a driver, how do you both mentally and physically prepare yourself to race around at high speeds for so long?
Yeah. That's a tough race. We were actually, one of the guys, my tire guy, Scott Swift, was talking about the first time he went to that race, and he was running tires. He said they did 8 or 9 pit stops, and he thought, man, this thing's got to be about over. And he looked up, and they weren't even halfway. So, it's a long race. It's a neat race. And for me, I've got a great coach from Carmichael Training Systems. He keeps me physically prepared. And so, yeah, from a mental perspective, you have to be ready for such a long, grueling event. I'll tell you the coolest thing, I think, is that Kurt is running both of those races that day. I don't know how you guys have been covering that or whatever, but to me, that'll be really fun to watch. Trying to imagine doing I've never driven an IndyCar, but they say they're really hot and very physical. So to do that plus the Coke 600 that day, I think that's going to be amazing. So he, if he's able to accomplish that, I will have a lot of respect for him.
Go back in the back, Brian.
I'll make it quick, Carl. Brian Nelson, MRN. So when we talk about the AllStar Race, we like to hype up the fact that it's $1 million prize and there's no points on the line, so everybody's going to give it 150%.
Right.
What does those two things, what does it really change about how hard you race in an all-star race, and how do you describe that?
So we all race very hard for every win. You do. You just go out there and you drive as hard as you possibly can. But I can tell you this, leading that all-star race, the year we won it, for the last few laps, the stress level was through the roof. It's $1 million. Sprint and NASCAR put that money on the line. And I used to race in front of this many people for $75 to win. And I'm sure my heart was going about 180 beats per minute when I was, it's hard to put that out of your mind. You're leading that race. And I'm sure all the guys who've won that thing will tell you that if you're leading, and I had Kyle Busch behind me, and it was pressure. And to know that, man, all right, so if I just hit all my marks, I do this right, I'm going to win this race, and I'm going to win $1 million. It's crazy. You just can't, you almost can't think about it. So it's a pretty cool place and a cool race.
Time for one more. Chris. Did you have one, Matt? Do you have a question? Yeah. Okay. Chris.
Carl, just to follow up on MB Motorsports, the team that you debuted with in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, they're still competing, even actually going to race tonight with Justin Jennings. Do you still have an affiliation? Do you go over and talk to those bunch of Mike Mettler and those guys and Do you talk to any of their drivers? Because Justin Jennings is obviously a local driver as well.
Yeah, who's driving their trucks here? Who are the
Justin Jennings.
They have 2 trucks this weekend?
Yeah, but I believe one of them's the starting part.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Mike Mittler, if it weren't for Mike Mittler, I would not be sitting here. The first time I came to this racetrack was with Mike Mittler. I sat, Larry Gunzelman was driving, and they gave me a radio and sent me down to turn 1 and, acted like gave me an important job to watch the front valence. I don't know if it was important or not, but they made me feel like it was important, so that was cool. And then my first race here was for Mike Mittler, and finished 8th. I mean, it was a huge day for me. It changed my whole life. And so yeah, when I haven't been by his shop for a while, I haven't driven that way, but when I do drive that way, I stop. He's got a beautiful facility there in Forestdale. They got a new building there. I mean, it's amazing. Mike Mittler is, to me, he's a lot like Jack Roush or one of these guys that's a true American hero. I mean, he provides a living for a lot of people by building things. So I think the world of Mike. I've seen him at the racetrack a bunch. I actually got to sit on his pit box with him and Andy Hillenberg at, I believe, Texas it was. So, and Justin Jennings is doing a great job. He's built these trucks. He builds the body. He hangs the body. He knows how to set the thing up. He's a really smart kid, and he's been racing really well for him. So hopefully he gets the same opportunities I have.
Carl, thank you very much.
All right,
Good luck this
cool.
weekend.
All right. Thanks a lot, you guys.